I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for returning for another segment of Health Professional Radio. We'll be speaking with David Harrell in this segment. He's joining us here as Chairman and CEO of TranspareRx. It's the leading healthcare technology company bringing transparency to prescription drug pricing. He's joining us to talk about Cuverd. It's the new website and app that guides patients to get the lowest prescription cost possible. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, David Harrell. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Neil. Pleasure to be here.
Well, what's a bit of your professional background, if you would, and then talk about your role at Transpare.
Sure, Neil. I've been in the healthcare industry similar to most of our team for over 30 years in a variety of technology levels on the pharmaceutical side. And over the years, I've watched patients struggle to just get basic information on their healthcare, in particular, even prescriptions. Information such as, how can I find out if a drug's covered by my insurance? If it is, what's the copay that I might be experiencing? And I'm hearing so much about other ways that some people are saving, and I'm struggling to find a good source to make it simpler for me.
What are some of the factors that determine whether or not a company covers a certain drug? I mean, once it's FDA approved, why wouldn't all of the insurance companies cover it?
Well, it's a great question, and every health plan and pharmaceutical benefit management company, often referred to as PBMs, approaches it differently. And I guess the simple answer is they're trying to ideally save money for the key stakeholders. And in most cases, that is the case where they say, well, if there's a similar type of drug class where there's 3 or 4 in there, let's try to look at, either the generic alternatives that usually work 90+% of the time, or if we need a brand, let's make one preferred and some of the others we won't even cover. Mm-hmm. Now, there is some controversy that the PBMs are keeping a lot of the rebates from the manufacturers, but in most cases, I do believe generally some of the decisions make sense, but they're very, very difficult for doctors to determine which products are covered, at what levels they are, and it's even more difficult for patients when they go to talk to their doctor. What we're doing is making it easier through the Cuverd app and website.
You're talking about how difficult it is for physicians and nurses to keep abreast of these costs so that they can better prescribe to their patient. Why should it be the healthcare provider's responsibility to navigate this?
Well, basically right now, being a healthcare provider is very challenging. You have to put so much input into what's called electronic health records that many times the average primary care doctor is spending up to over 5 hours inputting data. And so they don't have the time and the interaction oftentimes to keep up on so many things and even communicate with the patients like they used to. So again, with moving formularies, changes of what's covered and what's not, it's very difficult. There are some tools within the electronic health records, but they're often difficult to see. Doctors are too busy. And again, they're often prescribing drugs that patients get. And when they go to fill, they're told that that's not available or it's extremely expensive. So again, there's really a lack of transparency to both the physician and the patient to what's covered. And even if it is covered, is it going to be a $90 copay, a $150 copay, or a $10 copay? So again, all those factors are something that we're trying to address to bring better transparency so people can never leave the doctor's office without knowing, A, is it covered, and B, what's the best price, so that they're more likely to start and stay on the medication.
TranspareRx has developed Cuverd, Cuverd, pronounced Cuverd. What is Cuverd, and how will it help patients and caregivers alike?
So Cuverd's been developed over the last 3 years to take very complex things that we've just discussed and make it really easy for the user by simply sharing their location and entering one time their healthcare plan. From there, we will determine if the product that is being searched is covered under their insurance, and then go further to say, is there additional savings that can reduce their copay, including drug manufacturing coupons, as well as sometimes it's actually less expensive to pay cash than even your own copay. So we'll get you automatically to the lowest out-of-pocket cost if the product is covered, or we'll show you alternatives that you can discuss with your doctor that is covered under your plan and gives you a much better price.
How does this app navigate some of the HIPAA complications? Are we talking about entering detailed personal information into this app in order to get that information? Or is it simply put in your zip code, a type of plan, and it navigates that way without personal details?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can absolutely just do those two simple things, and we have no identification whatsoever of who the user is. There are some features that if you would like notices to refill your medication and have those savings sent to your text or your email, where we require simply your text or email information. But we don't share the information with any third party. Some of the brand manufacturer coupons do require that the patient enroll, but again, that's outside of covered and we don't have anything to do with that. So to make it simple, some of the features that you feel beneficial will require simply a text or an email, but if you want to just use the app in its basic form, you never have to share any personal data whatsoever.
Talk about what makes Covered vastly unique from other attempts at navigating some of these prescription costs that we've been hearing about for decades.
Yeah, so there's been some really good tools for cash-paying patients like GoodRx that many have heard, and they've done a really nice job at serving the 5 to 6% of patients that are paying cash. Although we do the exact same thing, we also help and go further for the 90+% of patients that do have insurance, yet they are still struggling with their rising copay costs and deductibles. So we help all Americans by looking at, again, all the variables from their location and which pharmacies are in the network, which we have over 95% that work with Covered, to what is their health plan, what is it covered, to automatically looking at, again, are there additional copay savings that we can access to? So, for example, if you want on some of the older drug discount cards websites, you might see for a branded drug, the lowest cash paid patient cost would be $600 for a leading heart medication. If you search that same drug on Covered, which again is spelled Cuverd.com, you would actually see in many cases that same drug could be as low as $10 out-of-pocket cost, because we take all the variables, the coverage, we look to see if there's a manufacturer copay discount, and get it as low as 10 or even as low as 0 in some cases. Even specialty drugs that cost maybe $16,000 in other sites, if we can validate that there's coverage, we can get that down as low as 10 to even no out-of-pocket costs. So it sounds like it's unreal, but it truthfully, there are amazing resources that are very difficult to find that we make easy using the Covered app or the Covered website.
Tell us where we can download this app, and is there anything else that you'd like to add before you give us that website?
One thing that all Americans agree on is that the cost of healthcare continues to rise, and the cost of prescriptions are rising even faster. So again, whether you're insured, uninsured, whether you need a generic or you need a more expensive branded medication, Covered can get you the lowest out-of-pocket cost looking at your unique variables. And it's very easy to use, and you simply go to Cuverd.com, which again is Cuverd.com, or you can go to your Apple or Google app stores and simply download Covered and begin using it on your next prescriptions. And certainly helping your friends and family as well save. So it's really exciting. We've got some big partnerships with some of the big retailers that are going to be coming out that see this as an advantage for their customers as well. But anybody can use Covered, and we're really excited that we have a chance to share that with you, because I think it can help truly millions and millions of people and patients save more on their rising medication cost.
David, thank you so much for your time this morning. Hopefully you return and let us know how Covered is progressing and how people are taking advantage of this new tool. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with David Harrell. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download it, Anchor, Spotify, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.